What is going on, everybody? Happy midweek. Welcome into the Trade to Black podcast, powered by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales. Thanks for checking in. Big show here today. Gretchen Gailey is going to join us in just a moment to recap her weekend that she had, where she met with a number of senior agency officials in Washington, D.C. And what was the main focus? Rescheduling. And I know a lot of you have been asking, where does this sit? What are we looking at as far as timelines? Don't know that yet, but we want to get a full recap of what the discussions were about and some of the big takeaways. As well, we saw the new draft law that was basically created in Germany regarding the new cannabis laws potentially in Germany related to medical cannabis, and could they basically bypass telemedicine? We have the most respected attorney from Germany on, that is Franzi Katterbach. She'll be joining us and really shed some light on whether this has any legs to stand on and what we can anticipate next. So big shows. We welcome in AV here on a Wednesday. Good to see you.
Good to see you. It's an interesting week so far, to say the least. I said it. I was trying not to say it.
Yeah, it was.
A lot of people are getting hung up on the short-term price action.
7 days, myself included. 7 days ago. Wow, I was looking pretty, and then everything that went up just came right back down. But let's just.
Last house ended the day green.
Did they?
There's a tiny positive data point. Hopefully, we get a statement from them here shortly on some not closure, but detail as to what's actually going on
For
a
sure.
go-forward basis.
Yeah, and still a lot of unknowns. I'm not swaying one way or another because we can't comment, nor should we, because there's information that needs to come out. But one thing is for sure, it just looks pretty clear that this news that came out last week basically killed all momentum that was building in the 1 or 2 days prior to that. But we need some clarity, that's for sure. But that's the way the industry operates, that if news comes down with one company, it affects the entire industry, which we've known and been accustomed to for quite some time. So it is what it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, especially when it's the fourth largest holding in the ETF, that was bound to have some pressure and sentiment shift on it. I mean, it was a big deal. It was I haven't seen anything really as polarizing as that since CanTrust got popped for having those fake walls in their facility with grow rooms that were not licensed by Health Canada back in the day.
I hate to use that comparison. I really do, but
there hasn't been anything as big. There really hasn't been a blemish to this scale on the MSOs or on the U.S. cannabis industry. Yeah, we've had Vapegate with vitamin E acetate. Yeah, we've had testing scandals. There's been some bumps here and there, but there's never been anything that's been this orders of magnitude against the grain as what's going on with Glass House. Hopefully they put out a statement. Hopefully there's some language to go in the other direction than what the court of public opinion is saying right now. But there's a lot of people out there speculating. So the sooner the better to get an official statement out from the company would be good.
Waiting game's the hardest part. I know a lot of people are frustrated right now. They want some feedback, but I can only imagine what's going on behind the scenes. Don't know anything, but I'm sure their legal team is front and center, and that's the reason why we are quiet right now. So you can speculate all you want, but we need actual facts. And before that comes out, we're not going to say one thing one way or another, but one thing's for sure, it did kill the momentum. But hopefully this turns out, I don't know what we learned from this, but there's a lot to be learned in a lot of different ways. But one thing that we definitely need is reform, as we always talk about. And with that, let's welcome in our first guest, Gretchen Gailey, back to the podcast, who's in Indianapolis. Good to see you. How are things?
Good. How are you?
Good. You've been just laying low the last couple of weeks. Much going on?
No, nothing at all. Just, keeping it quiet. It's hot in DC. No one wants to do anything.
Yeah. Well, listen, as I said off the top, big weekend that you and a number of people had in Washington, D.C. You and Ricky were there, met with a number of senior agency officials. And I know the main focus was about rescheduling. So I think there's a lot of people just dying to know, what was involved in some of these conversations. What were the takeaways? So what was the biggest takeaway when meeting with congressional leaders, and really what was discussed about rescheduling? If, I don't know what you can share, but dying to know what you learned.
Sure. So we met with a number of officials, some from the White House, others from the various agencies. We met with folks from Treasury, Commerce, Energy, Ag, HUD. Ricky had a great great conversation with the pardon czar, with Alice Johnson. Also spoke with White House counsel. And basically, going into those meetings, our only goal was to talk about rescheduling. And to try and help educate the administration on what rescheduling could mean for them and for these various agencies, how it all could play a part. And the big selling points for them, of course, are jobs, cutting 280E, and research for medical use. There's also the interest in killing the illicit market. And there's big concern over border security and the cartels and how that all is shaking down. So that's what we really focused on talking with these folks. And the impression that I got from the administration is this is something they're interested in. This is not my first time at the White House. I went back in 2016, years ago, through Roger Stone, talking to Trump back then about cannabis. And back then it was, this is what THC is, this is what CBD is. So we have come a very long way from where we were. I guess that was like 6 years ago. So
were there any common themes? Were there any common themes that you saw when engaging with these officials from different sects of the government, or did they all kind of have the same tact and the same feedback as it related to cannabis reform?
The common theme we got was openness, willing to hear more about it. I haven't gotten that kind of response from any administration. And I've been in this since Obama. Everyone before has just kind of been kind of hands off, do your thing. We're not really touching it. But this administration is taking a look at it and trying to figure out how to make this work. Because they are about common sense, practical solutions to what's going on in policy. And it just makes common sense to reschedule cannabis. And we did not really get into safe banking or to any of the other issues that are happening congressionally, truly because the way we're looking at it is rescheduling has to come first.
Right.
If we can get it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, that's going to open the door for lawmakers to be more willing to move ahead with legislation on the Hill.
Okay.
I
So,
think that's smart.
yeah, tone matters as much as the words. So compared to conversations you've had in the past, visits that you've made, does this feel different this time?
It does. I have never had access to this many folks all at once. And so they were definitely willing to open the doors to us. And it was not just me and Ricky there. We went along with some leaders from the Black Conservative Federation. So it's very important to the administration to address how this could impact minority communities. We were also there with the folks from Village Farms, John Harlow, and their CEO, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Michael DiGiulio.
Michael DiGiulio.
And he was great because he could really speak to the folks, not just from the business perspective, but also being a Navy veteran. And so he could give that perspective, which they were also looking to get. Shane Pennington was there. And honestly, I was kind of fanboying over Shane Pennington. Like, I have never met anyone who I have found to be more opinionated than me until I met Shane. So it was quite interesting talking to him about all the very legal pitfalls. And that was another thing. We were trying to help work with the administration on how they can possibly do this, going around the ALJ proceedings and trying to get past the DEA and really trying to just get this done.
Did hemp come up in the conversations at all with what was going on? Or did anybody have like ag? Did they have any sort of bearing on what's going on or no?
Zero. I talked a lot about hemp, but I talked about it with the Department of Energy. I was trying to sell them on hemp as a biofuel and how we need to be looking at it more from the industrial perspective. Truly, like getting into the whole synthetic cannabinoid argument and all that is too much right now. There's so many different aspects in the way cannabis could be dealt with. We really need to get a win on the board. And we truly believe that if you open the door to Schedule 3, research is what we need. So if you're able to start doing research, you can see what this plan is capable of, and that'll give them a lot more answers on how to better regulate it and legislate it. And so that's what we're really trying to do with the administration.
Yeah. With all these moving parts, do you get the impression that this ALJ hearing is just going to be pushed to the side? That's in the past. And if we get a decision, it's going to be straight to rescheduling? Because if so, then that's sooner rather than later. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, honestly, that's probably a better question for Shane.
No, I get it.
But my talks with him, it does seem that ALJ right now is completely deadlocked. I could be wrong, but that's what I took away from him. And so, yes, I think the administration is looking at different ways of moving this process along.
When you said the list of groups that you met with, who seemed the most engaged on the issue? Or were they all the same?
No, they were all pretty receptive. I did not speak to Treasury because honestly, Numbers and we do not go well together. So that was not my conversation. Ricky, he told me how impressed he was with Alice Johnson and how engaged she was and what they're trying to do and put together pardons for various folks who have cannabis convictions out there. That's a top priority for her. HUD was interested. I think a big part of what our discussions were about is while they're willing to engage on this, there's still a huge amount of education that needs to happen. And so trying to go through the various agencies and how they could be applicable. The one gentleman I was talking to from the Department of Ag on various issues, he's actually former Speaker of the House in Oklahoma, and he's a banker. And so his first thing to me was, I know how to do cannabis the wrong way. And so he was like, all right, let's figure out how to move forward. And so that's why we're willing to engage on these conversations, and AG's going to have a part of it. HHS is going to be a part of it. It's amazing when you look at this plan, how many agencies are going to have to touch upon policy moving forward. And so it's really just trying to figure out where do we begin so those bigger conversations can happen.
But all in all, there's would you say, a very high interest in this topic right now in Washington when this topic is brought up?
Yes, I would say from the administration's standpoint, there is a high interest. And honestly, we would love to see this get done sooner than later. So we can bring up things like safe banking, which we know is coming about definitely in the fall from folks that we've been working with on the Hill. I'm not sure if States 2.0 is there just yet. But I do think that is going to be a good conversation for a lot of folks and a good blueprint for perhaps how this industry should move forward from a states' rights perspective, which would be in line with what this administration is looking for. I think it's just amazing how much, and I hate to say this for all the Dems out there, how much the Dems have been completely pushed aside on this issue. Everything is going to happen from a conservative perspective from now on. So.
Which I think
and I know there's momentum to get this done prior to the midterms, so Republicans can get cannabis set up the way that they would like it to be done.
Well, one might ask, midterms, that's another year away. And you say that anything to anybody right now, that's going to feel like just the air's been sucked out of the room because that's another year. But go ahead.
Not really.
Not
I mean,
if you
were watching Fox News, they're quote unquote, they directly were saying, as far as the narrative goes, that the midterms started with the big, beautiful bill getting passed. That was the gun going off. The midterms, saying that this is posturing for the midterms, that this will have effect on the midterms, isn't necessarily meaning that it's going to happen next year. The time frame is already started.
So the definition of midterms, you're saying in so many ways that it's maybe in some ways begun, and if it hasn't begun, it's going to happen with the next 30 to 60 days when people start getting their voices out there more and more. But I get it. Not on paper, but I get it.
Yeah, I think what happens this fall is definitely going to matter. And the big, beautiful bill is what people are going to be campaigning on come the midterms, whether they're for or against it. I mean, it's going to have a massive impact on all lawmakers, as we've been seeing. So,
was there any other industry representation outside of Village Farms that were there?
No.
No. Well done, Mr. DiGiulio and the Village Farms team.
I mean, and I don't want to, take credit for everything. I mean, this did come about. We've been working with Weldon Angelos for quite a while. On various meetings. This all kind of started, I would say, 2 weeks prior with the letter that we put together with the various athletes. We've been working on them with that. And I think the letter and some of the hype around Tyson really helped to push getting this meeting in place.
Okay.
And our biggest Thrill, I guess you could say, from all this is that we expect more meetings to come. This was a starting point. No one kicked us out. I have been kicked out of plenty of places in Washington in the past. Actually, one time I actually got carried out of the Capitol. That's a whole other story.
No.
But
let's get into that.
like
What happened? Walk us through that. No, I'm kidding.
When I got carried out, and this is when I was like young and little, they just picked me up by my arms and they're like, it was
out you go.
Thing. That was during anthrax. But
yeah.
The one thing, and I will see in the comments, there was nothing was brought up about Glass House. That didn't seem to be on folks' radar at all. And honestly, I mean, I don't even know where we would begin with that topic with the administration.
It seems to be that the only person talking about Glass House is going to be Tom Homan and Homeland Security. I mean, that issue has nothing to do with the plant. If you look at any of the narrative around Glass House, it's immigration, California, Gavin Newsom donors. It's all of the MAGA talking points. I would think that Tom Homan and Kristi Noem actually talked about it yesterday as well. I mean, I think it's going to go to DHS and the intelligence apparatus, and they're just going to treat it as an immigration issue. It's not a cannabis issue. They didn't touch the plant. They weren't there for the plants.
Francisco Clark writes, I don't understand why someone would attack Democrats when I haven't seen the Republicans do SHIT yet. So,
Francisco, I would love for you to tell me what the Democrats ever did. Hello, they haven't done jack shit. How many years were they in charge and they didn't do things? I mean, come on, give me a break.
So at least you're having
bullshit that the Democrats are awesome.
Right. And you're having these conversations now. To his point, nothing's been done yet. But to your point, the conversations are not being had. You're not being kicked out of rooms. This is a real interest. And one can only speculate with all the stuff that Trump is going on in his administration right now. You've got, what's the percentage, Anthony, that Americans really want rescheduled or federal legalization? 70?
7 out of 10, yeah.
Yeah, 70%. Yeah. So that's, if that were to get announced, do you think in any ways that would deflect some of this tension that he's been bombarded with? And
I mean, well, honestly, cannabis has never saved anyone when it comes to the media attention. So it could be interesting if we do.
Yeah, I bet.
But in regards to the Democrats, speaking to Ricky about the various administrations, he had conversations in the past with trying to do various things. I'm going to touch this with so the Biden was not on board whatsoever. Much as they pretend that they have pardoned everyone and saved the free world with cannabis pardons, it didn't happen. They didn't do jack shit. They continued to not do jack shit. I would love to see somebody step up. And Frank, what
Glass House just announced a preferred equity refi.
I don't know what the hell that means, but okay.
Via a press release. I don't even know what to think of it.
See, I don't know shit about the numbers.
They're raising money. This is interesting. Before any sort of statement on the issue, so it's either non-material. The what?
For their legal fund.
I mean, the fact that they're raising the fact that they're announcing a preferred equity refi on the cusp of what happened last week would make me believe that whatever happened was not material to the business, and or it's business as usual over there right now. That's just speculation, but you wouldn't do this if you were facing institutional investors. Aren't going to throw money into something that's potentially facing criminal action.
Wow. Talk about
not saying that they're fine, but this is odd timing, to say the least.
You think? Wow. One last thing I'll leave it with, Gretchen, is we had Steve Robinson, editor-in-chief from the Maine Wire on Monday, and great story because he was on with Tucker Carlson last week, talked about as many as 300 to 400 illegal grows in the state of Maine alone. So was a lot of the illicit operations a topic of conversation in correlation with rescheduling with some of these officials last week?
It was more from the perspective of the cartels when it came to money laundering.
Okay.
Because they've kind of debunked this idea about people adding fentanyl to cannabis, and that's an issue. But truly what the main issue is that the Chinese are now laundering money for the Mexican cartels. And frankly, that is concern about national security.
Yeah.
So there's and they're looking at not necessarily illicit gross